Okay, let's just get a scorecard.
Yes, let's get Rajeev Jyoti in, the Chief Executive Railway Business at L&T. Mr. Jyoti, good afternoon. What is the key number you will watch out for, or key announcement?
Good afternoon. I would watch out for the key number of investment. I think, as your expert said, I'm also expecting a further hike of at least 25%, if not more, over the last investment figure of about 100,000 crores. If you recall, last time they had increased the investment by about 50% on the year before that. I expect another hike of 25,000 crores. That's one number I will look at. Operating ratio is another number I will look at. And number three, I will look at key high-ticket projects, high-value projects, which he may announce. When I look at that, it could be one freight corridor, which could be a very high-ticket project, which is already on the anvil. Whether he makes an announcement on that is to be watched. And lastly, I will look at how does he want to rapidly implement the high-speed rail. I think these are a couple of large projects announcements, and the investment levels beyond the other areas of trying to increase or trying to reduce debottlenecking and trying to create new lines are other areas which one would look for. So essentially projects and maybe some investments in some of the manufacturing units like coach factory in Kachrapada. So these are the key elements I would look for. I'm not looking for any increase in passenger or freight tariff. I think this has happened 2 years back and successive 2 years. It's also not the politically opportune time. So I do not see any increase in tariffs both at the passenger side and the freight side.
Rajeev,
on the whole, the bottom line will be important. Also, number two we look for is the kind of budgetary support he gets.
I think that will be very important because it's 17,000 crore, which was earmarked last, in the last railway budget. So that will also impact the numbers in the union budget when it is released. So there was that extra budgetary support, the EBR, which was released last time, 17.1 thousand crore.
Even on the gross budgetary support, where 40,000 crore had been outlined, I was reading that was scaled down by 8,000. So only 32,000 was actually given out to the Indian Railways, and that compounded the financial problem. But Rajeev, very quickly, where is he going to get the money for this increased planned outlay, saying going up to 1.2 lakh crore, because he will be making provisions of nearly 30,000 crore for his employees according to the pension requirements under the 7th Pay Commission. So where will the money come from? Any ideas that you have?
My expectation is that despite a reduction in the gross budgetary support from 40 to 32,000, I think he will still try and convince the government that because of the 7th Pay Commission, the GBS must go up further. I expect the GBS levels, despite the challenges which the government is facing, the GBS levels to go up to about 50,000 crores. Number two, the EBR, which he has successfully managed through multilateral, bilateral discussions and through financial institutions, I think, and also through innovative financing, I expect the EBR to go up to a level of about 50 to 55,000 crores. And lastly, on the revenue side, on his revenue side, I do not expect major jumps, but I still think he will go for aggressive top-line revenue targets, holding back on operating ratios to less than 90, which will hopefully give him about 20 to 25,000 crores. Okay. So my mind, 40% gross budgetary support, 40-45% external borrowing, and the balance from his revenue mobilization without changing tariffs.
Okay, any guesses on that 17,100 crore that my colleague was referring to, Rajeev? The institutional finance, was anything tied up? I thought LIC was one of the ideas that the government was talking about at that time, but was that finance tied up at all?
Absolutely. The LIC one was tied up very rapidly in the first quarter of last year. So LIC has given 1.5 lakh crores, out of which they have paid 2,000 crores early on for actually formalizing the projects. I think LIC and similar institutional finances will be one of his target areas. LIC has been at least closed out. He may look at external pension funds, he may look at other external commercial organizations for financing, and for that he is trying to change the business model. He is trying to move to larger EPC projects. He is looking at corridor concepts where the investor can look at very clearly the project and its deliverables. Therefore, I think he is changing the profile of the way projects are being defined, which will make the investor feel comfortable that this part of the corridor will finally give them the returns. So I think he'll keep pushing institutional finance, he'll keep pushing multilateral, bilateral agencies like World Bank, like JICA, like ADB. He will look at all other innovative methods of financing. So I think when I say innovative method, it could be, which also could go through internal accruals of resources like your real estate leasing and so on.
Yeah, Mr. Jyoti, just hang on to that thought. We just have to update on the markets. The markets suddenly seeing a bout of weakness. Maybe we want to pull up the Dow futures and the other Asian markets as well. We are seeing the Nifty
down 5% now, so it's extended its losses, and that perhaps is hurting.
China has been down, hurting from the word go. It was 3.5% when we opened for trade in the morning. We seem to weather the storm up until then, but now these could also be domestic, technical pressures coming from the F&O space. The important point is that 6976 mark, the yesterday's low, or even 6950, a technical level which our chart experts were looking at. We are still a distance away. We are still straddling that 7,000 mark on the Nifty. So it may not be all hell break loose, but it is certainly hurting at the mid-cap level and at the bank Nifty level. So among the bigger stocks that have moved down in the past hour have been largely some of the banking stocks, big cuts coming in the Bank of Baroda's and stocks like that. As well, Yes Bank has seen a bit of downtick today. SBI, ICICI Bank, all of them down about 1.25%. Bank of Baroda saw a deep cut. So banking stocks clearly are hurting.
Also, real estate companies, if you take out the chart for Indiabulls real estate, DLF, other companies like Jet Airways, and just look at the half an hour chart, just see the way the fall is happening in most of these stocks. You're seeing sharp cuts happening in there. Even Marksans Pharma is another, mid-cap stock, which is seeing a sharp cut of nearly 3% in the last few minutes. You have Bishman, other stocks which are just moving down, at the day's low.
Power Grid has taken a knock. Power Grid is down 5%.
Keep your eye on likes of Adani Transmission, so that has slipped a bit. Interglobe Aviation has also seen a bit of a knock in the last 10-15 minutes. So these are few stocks in the mid-cap space which should also come up for your new screen. So as we speak, the Nifty is around that 7,000 level, swinging above and below that, but it's a cut of nearly about 0.25%. We're still awaiting the railway budget. It will be presented by Mr. Prabhu in just a bit. But Umesh, give us a scorecard of what FY16 has been so far. He had budgeted gross traffic receipts of growth of 15.3%, coming in at 1.8 lakh crore. He had targeted an operating ratio of 88.5%. What do you think the real picture has been for the last year?
See, I think that FY16, the railways have been faced with a lot of headwind. The economy has been very, very sluggish. The food grain or the fertilizer movement patterns have changed. So I think that that has made railway lose a little bit of market. So overall,
the railway minister has started
estimated receipts and expenditure for the year 2016-17 for the Indian Railways. Let me begin